All right, we will start the 4B board meeting for Tuesday, June 12th, 2018 at 6:36 p.m. We'll move to the public forum. If there's anybody in the public forum who would like to speak, come forward. We will close the public forum. We also mention that all members are present except member Van Vessem. Move on to discussion and action items. Number 1, discuss and consider approval of the February 19, 2018 special meeting minutes.
You will see the minutes in your packet. This is the only one that was done out of the 12 that I'm behind. So hopefully they'll start coming around, but this is the first one I've gotten done.
I make a motion that we approve the special meeting minutes from February 19th, 2018.
Motion made by member Bradford, seconded by member Torres. All those in favor to accept the February 19, 2018 minutes. Passes unanimous. Move on to item number 2. Discuss and consider the May 2018 financial reporting and related financial items.
Okay, I'll review what staff put together, but the revenues this month included our normal sales tax revenue, and we also recorded the sale of the Provident property. I'll explain how that's broken down in just a minute. As well as the expenses include the portion that goes to 4A, as well as routine payroll and contract maintenance that we have, as well as some expenses from our EDC director for recent conferences and whatnot. So the way the books are going to reflect the property is we transfer in the amount that we paid, which was the $1,375,000, and then we transfer under a separate line item the actual proceeds that we are booking above the sale price. So our portion of the gain on the sale of the asset was $149,430. So, and then we'll also reflect a transfer out of the portion that 4A had contributed to the property, which was $687,500, which is half of the 1.375. So it's kind of reflected in our numbers in 3 different line items. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So right now our May 31st fund balance is $2,600,295.34. And that's all. Unless staff has anything they want to add.
Any questions? Could I get a motion to accept the May 2018 financial reporting and related financial items?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by member Hunter, seconded by member Weiss. All those in favor? Passes unanimous. Move on to item number 3, discuss and consider 2018-2019 budget.
What we have prepared is really just a preliminary first glance look at the 18-19 budget. It's pretty much just a base budget look at, with the exception of a few items that Tracy and I together went through and made a few changes. Those changes are listed on Tracy's memo. it just kind of goes through there and kind of details the items that we are making adjustments from 2017-18 to 2018-19. We are taking a conservative increase on sales tax receipts. So we're going to see a 3% increase from what we budgeted for 2017 and 18. Salary right now, the labor and benefits category is going to show, although nothing has been decided at this point, again, this is just a first glance at it, we did go ahead and increase, let it reflect a 3% COLA increase. Again, no decisions have been made on that. Administrative services, you can see that we lowered that budgeted item from $20,000 to $10,000, and as a reminder, that item is, should we go out and look for some sort of administrative help for the EDC director. That's what that line item is for. Contractual services, there we have our landscape maintenance contract. We remain with Paradise Lawns. That is a $945 a month charge for 12 months. So our landscape maintenance line item is at $15,000. Tracy, we talked about reducing that promotional services. It has to remain at equal to or less than 10% of your sales tax receipts. So that would put it at about $73,000. But I'll let Tracy speak about that.
We decreased it even further down to just $50,000 because the 4A budget also takes a portion of that, and theirs is sitting at $40-something thousand. So, $90,000 collectively to be able to spend on marketing and promotion of the town. So I thought that was efficient enough not to have to go through the whole 10%.
We had Johnson Park and Vineyard Park maintenance at $5,000 apiece, just simply because we don't currently have any big ticket items or any big maintenance projects planned for that at this time. We left the town center park maintenance account at $20,000, and I think there's going to be some additional information later on today presented about some items for town center park, all of which may not be completed, I don't know, in 17-18, and some maybe for 18-19. Samuel North and New Hope, we left at $20,000 as well, simply for general maintenance, maybe the possibility of some pond dredging and restocking. The glacier maintenance, we took that down from $15,000 to a zero budget line item, simply because we do have money in the Glacier Park Improvement Account, which is further down the line under Park Rec Improvements. General office supplies, we took from $1,000 to $500. Dues, subscriptions, and memberships, keeping in mind all the items that we currently are members of, or that we have subscriptions to. We took it from $15,000 to $3,000. And I think the thought process on that is also a line item that is split usually 50-50 with 4A as well. Project costs, we had for the last year $75,000 sitting in an account associated for that Highway 80 for the Provident project that was there at the corner of Highway 80 and Collins. With that property now having been sold, we took that line item down from $75,000 to zero. Legal fees stayed the same at $7,500. The training stays the same at $7,500. Indirect and operating expenses, that is your transfer into the general fund, which, as we discussed last year, is a percentage of the overall park budget, 33%. Based right now on the first look that we have at the park budget, that's going to equate to a $218,000 transfer in, which is about $4,000 more than what you're paid in 17-18. And right now, that is strictly based on that 3% COLA increase that we have, adjusted all the payroll across the board through all departments. Again, it hasn't even been spoken about at this point. The retail incentives went from $50,000 to $150,000. Again, I think that is just because of maybe some increases, not increases, but maybe some requests coming on board for that. Town beautification, we left at $25,000. Parks and trails, we left at $150,000. The Jobson Park improvements, we had sitting out there at $200,000. We made a decision at mid-year to take that down to zero. We didn't see any activity taking place on that for 17-18, and didn't see anything for 18-19 at this time, so we left it at zero. Land acquisition, we do have sitting out there at $300,000 for next year. Glacier Park improvements, we have at $50,000. And the rails to trails improvements, we have at $200,000. I did want to note that the mid-year budget adjustments that we did put forth were approved last night at the town council meeting, so your actual financials for the month of June will reflect those updates. Upon approval last night, we're making those changes today. I think overall, 4B only had maybe $20,000 net change in your mid-year numbers, and that was really just truing up a couple of accounts. So overall, we're showing for 18-19 going into the fund balance for $553,000, leaving you with an ending fund balance of $300,000 for the year. Keep in mind that this does not reflect, at the time we put this together, we had not sold the Provident property, so it doesn't reflect those numbers yet. So, and it also is, these numbers, you know, are dependent upon, again, taking in 100% of the revenue, sales tax receipts we have budgeted, and expensing 100% of what we have budgeted. So if those items aren't met, then of course, you know, that will make a change to your fund balance.
Yeah, I had actually estimated about $850,000 of our existing budgeted expenses that we're probably not going to spend this year, so that'll increase our beginning fund balance for.
And again,
2019.
this was just a first glance that we put together. There is a budget retreat on the 22nd and the 23rd that is open to anyone. It's going to be held at the Rockwall Golf and Athletic Club in Rockwall. And it's on Friday the 22nd from noon until 6, and on Saturday the 23rd from 8 until noon. Of course, we're making any recommendations that the board has.
I had one question. Thank you for putting all this together, by the way, and answering my questions. On the transfer in, the 33% of our budget numbers,
Yeah.
can you remind me what all of the $85,000 for the park and ball field maintenance covers? Because we have some budgeted, Parks has a budget, and then we have this transfer amount, so I'm just trying to understand what fits in each of those three categories.
Well, I think we went from trying to do a percentage of an individual category to deciding to do a percentage of the overall parks budget. So the 33% transfer in is not just in support of ball field and parks maintenance, it's also in support of, you know, street lights, and it's in support of the labor and benefits for the parks department, it's in support of special events, it's in support of the whole entire budget.
Right, I'm talking specifically because that all of that you just mentioned is line item in this. So it shows $88,000 for the payroll piece and $25,000 for vehicle maintenance and $5,000 for Sunny Fest. I'm just trying to, for the $85,000 for the other maintenance.
That sheet of paper right there is more of a trying to show the 4B board how we can get back to that $218,000. So if you did it one way and you did just a 33% transfer in of the entire parks budget, you would be at $218,875. However, if we went back to doing how we were before, and you paid for just 1.5 park tech, you'd be paying approximately $88,000. If you paid for if you gave us $25,000 for vehicle and equipment maintenance, you'd be giving us $25,000. And if you paid the ball field and park maintenance, which would include not only ball field and park maintenance, but it would include equipment maintenance, it would include vehicle maintenance, it would include fuel costs, that's where that $85,000 comes in. What we're trying to show is that if we were to break it out into individual line items, you come up to about $218,200. And if you do just an overall percentage of the park's budget, you come out to $218,875. So either way, we were just, this was just an attempt to show you that either way you'd be spending about the same amount of money.
So the 85,000 sounds like it was kind of backed into.
Well, you had been doing $80,000 for the last, probably not last year, but maybe the 3 prior years, and just with increase in costs, we made that at $85,000.
So I guess I'm just trying to understand if Parks needs a new mower, would it be covered under this, or would we be asked for it
No,
like we have in the past?
your $218,000 transfer in includes $25,000 that's going into the vehicle replacement plan, and that is for, a new vehicle for the Parks Department if that need arises, or if we got to replace a mower or a tractor or a new trailer, whatever the case may be.
Going
When-
forward.
Going
Because we already
forward.
did that.
This
A
year,
few months ago, we already bought new stuff.
Yeah, I think that was actually left over from the.
that was
this
a
fiscal
lapsed
year.
expense
Right.
from the prior year, yes.
And that's what when
So by doing it
Sherry
this
was
way-
here, we were trying to eliminate all those issues and just cover our bases overall.
Exactly.
So,
I don't have a problem with the number,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand what gets taken out of which bucket, as I was trying
Right.
to say.
So your $218,000 transfer in includes payroll, vehicle maintenance, equipment maintenance, ball field and park maintenance. We even have a contingency, y'all included a $15,000 for contingency. Your $5,000 that you had been donating for the Sunny Fest each year, and then the vehicle replacement at $25,000.
so basically, they shouldn't be coming to us 4 or 5 years down the road and saying, hey, we need a new pickup. The money should be, every year should be taken out and should be going into a fund
That's correct.
in their bank and taking care of that, basically.
We also included a copy of the first glance of the park
Do that
budget
as a third.
in your packet, so you can see where we're getting,
You do it as a third.
where we're taking the parks is budgeted right now at, for 18-19 at $663,260, and your 33% of that equates to the $218,875. And we just rounded that number down to $218,000.
So I guess I'm still a little confused too about the buckets of money. I understand the mower setup and how we made the plan to, front money because we knew we'd be consistently replacing and repairing them. But I think I'm still confused, for instance, when we have the other things to look at later in the meeting, like, fixing tennis courts or fixing things like that. Does that come from Parks budget or does that come from 4B budget? How do we differentiate where those things come from?
Well, the park department budget is normally, that amount of money that's budgeted for ball field and park maintenance is usually normally routine, everyday maintenance on the parks. It doesn't normally include big ticket items like, if the motor busts in the fountain over here at Town Center Park, or if the panel that controls, those items breaks down and has to be completely replaced. It doesn't include, it's just routine maintenance on those ball fields. And that is why I think 4B last year put together some individual budgeted amounts for Jobson Park, for Vineyard Park, because you had some specific items that you were looking to. I think they did emergent and some fertilizer on those particular fields, so y'all budgeted something separate just for that particular item. But there are some things that do come up that aren't budgeted in the Parks Department, and those are the items I believe that you are gonna touch on a little bit later.
Yeah, those, we already discussed some of the items that are coming up. It's stuff that the parks was not prepared for, I should say. And so we'll look at those and kind of decipher what's going on, but it's something that's out of the ordinary.
So when it's out of the ordinary, it's us.
But
Well,
technically,
It's Parks budget?
Normally, the parks budget will do what it can to absorb those costs and has done that for 17-18. The items that you all will speak of later, for the most part, are costs that the parks budget has absorbed. They weren't budgeted items. And at mid-year, we elected not to make any mid-year budget items to the parks budget, which, had we done so, would have resulted in 4B having to make a mid-year adjustment to their transfer in as well. Because then an increase to the parks budget would be an increase to your transfer in.
our percent, our 33%.
Right.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And had the parks budget, you know, and that works just the opposite way as well. Had we decided mid-year that, you know, we were over budget on a number of items and we adjusted it, you know, down, then, you know, your transferring wouldn't have been as much. So the Parks Department has absorbed the majority of those costs, and we have gone into your contingency account as well, the 15,000 of your transfer in that is sitting out there in contingencies already, so.
And the parks budget took a big hit this year with getting Barnes Bridge Park and having to put up a barrier gate to keep people out, and then somebody ran through it, so they had to fix it, so that all came out of the parks budget too.
Right, and those weren't budgeted items for 17-18.
Yeah.
So we took a big hit on acquiring park and closing.
Yes.
Interesting.
But I will
So
say.
my question would be, I'm fine with either way, but it's just defining, do we want to, moving forward, properly allocate the 10-year budget items into the parks budget and leave the 33 1/3, so we just pay more every year? Or does the council want to switch it or keep it to where you have a accurate annual on your basic maintenance, and whenever a big ticket item comes up, you just reach over here and get it? Because I mean, that's the way it is. Either way, as long as we are all aware of it and know it, I think it's fine. It's
Well,
just-
the reason why we went to the 33% was to cover any what we called at the time gotcha items. Unfortunately, some of the gotcha items went past that percentage for sure, and you know, so that's why we're going to discuss some of the other items. So, yeah, we could have said 50% and would have covered everything, but we're not going there.
Not to beat up on it, but I was just confused because maybe it's the fact that we're referring to that one piece as ball field / park maintenance. Because in the actual parks budget, that portion of their budget is only 35,000.
That's correct.
So,
Right. But, you know, park lights, the fuel, those are individual budgeted items within the park department that are not reflected in the ball field and park maintenance account. And so that $85,000 was more of an overall and not just a single line
so
item.
maybe we just don't need to call it park and ball field.
Right, and again, that sheet was presented just to show you how we're getting back to that $218,000.
Yeah, no,
so that
I
you
think we
can-
should continue to
Right.
utilize this breakdown to remind us what this money is going towards. Especially since this is kind of a transition year, getting us used to that. Or maybe we should just say 33% of the parks budget, just leave it at that. I don't know.
I don't know. Don't pick the notes.
That was just kind of leaving some question. I don't have a problem with any of the number, I just curious. So
Any
I-
questions?
So do
What?
you need a vote on the proposed budget?
On
We
the
approved it last night.
Provident property?
Hold that thought, Javier. So last night, what council approved was our mid-year budget changes. This is the 2018-2019 budget. So council has not had this on their agenda or anything. They were passed out this packet last night that is just kind of the information given to them about everybody's budgets to get them prepared for the retreat that they haven't had a chance to see any of it really to make decisions on. So that's why it's coming before 4B tonight and 4A tomorrow night, so that y'all have an opportunity to review what could potentially go to council. So y'all have an opportunity tonight to make any changes that you want to make, ask any questions, and then note that whatever changes or anything y'all decide to make tonight, that it will go to council at the end of the month. Sorry,
So
Javier.
question on the, since we keep 3 acres of the 80 Collins, who's, as far as budget to mow?
Right now, it's still in the 4B's name, so until we add it and deed it over to the town, then it will still be 4B's responsibility to take care of. Once we deed it to the town, then it'll go into the parks budget, which will then just contribute when we do our 33%.
So as far as budget for that, since we took it to 0, and we still under 4B.
Which line item are you looking at? The
Um,
court owners?
It was
We
item
can take it out of-
6714, 692, 6714.
Well, there's, so I mean, we can take it out and we can essentially increase the landscape line item.
And see, that's one where right now it's just being mowed, and I think it's like $600 a month or something. I would think
Yeah,
that
we
would
don't
be-
do that anymore though,
we don't.
because now it's Providence, it's their responsibility to mow it. So we don't have to spend the $600.
He's just asking about the 3
Even though we
acres.
own it, even though we
We
own
only
the
owe
3
the
acres.
three.
The three.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, but the 600 was for
Oh,
the
for whole
entire.
thing. Okay, so then we have 3 acres to mow. So I would think that would be one thing that could be absorbed by our transfer in, because it's probably a small amount as far as maintenance goes. There's no infrastructure on that land, it's literally just grass.
Yes.
And I wouldn't see the need for us to set up a separate budget line item for that 3 acres, which is my,
So how are they gonna differentiate between the pieces of property? And
Robert
when
and I just
Robert
had
goes
that.
out there and mows and he says, wait a minute, I'm over the 3 acres, I need to stop.
Robert and I just had that conversation today. That's gonna be a work in progress. Not only that, when Robert and I talked about today too, is, you know, one of the items on for tonight is the tree and screen wall for Providence. It's gonna be tabled. I mean, Dorothy wasn't able to get everything together to make it tonight to do that. But one of the conversations Robert and I had today were, depending on where they put the trees, and it's also more maintenance for them to have to weed eat around the trees, weed eat around the screen walls. It's not just a matter of taking the mowers and going through there. So the additional maintenance that it's gonna cost to take care of that acreage. So it's
they're
gonna-
putting trees on property they didn't buy.
So that's one of, we've
We
had
agreed
this
to this.
conversation that they cannot put all the
Empty over
landscaping
Stone
on the
Canyon.
property. So the trees and landscaping that they cannot put on the property that they ended up buying will go on to the remainder track. And it'll be an extra additional barrier between Stone Canyon and that, the screen wall.
And maybe I forgot this, but weren't they gonna use the 3 acres for staging as well? So shouldn't they be taking care of it while they're building or whatnot? So that's why I thought maybe it went to 0, but
We are gonna be responsible for maintaining,
so are they gonna use it for staging?
they are gonna use it for staging.
So how is Robert gonna get in there and mow if it needs to be mowed, if there's like stuff? Or is he not? We're not gonna worry about it.
Oh, no, Frank will get on to us for not having it taken care of.
Who
but
will? Who'd you say?
Frank.
Frank?
Block.
Oh.
So the animal control guy takes care of code enforcement on the south side.
Well, if he's unable to get in there, I mean,
Yes, let me work on those little details, but right now our maintenance contract agreement is that we maintain it. they'll put the road in, we're maintaining the road. We maintain all the parkland back there. They'll put the trees, the irrigation system in, but we maintain the parkland. But it is a good point on the,
Be a lot of weed eating around stuff.
Also, I would be concerned if
They're
they have
using
their
the staging
stuff
area, they should have
there,
to maintain.
that we're mowing around it, what sort of liability if we ram into something of theirs.
Yeah, they should maintain
So
it
they should
while
have to
they're
maintain
building.
it until they
Get their
are
stuff off of
done.
it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, I think for now, we don't need a separate line.
Yeah.
Budget line for it, I don't think. We don't really know enough about how it's gonna work, and B, it's not gonna be that much money in comparison to everything else. So I guess we can do an adjustment later if we have to or
Approve this
something,
thing.
but I don't think we need to worry about adding it to this
Right.
budget for next year. But it was a good question. I think we definitely need to talk. We need to talk through it some more.
Mhm. Do we need a motion for this, or? No.
if y'all like this preliminary budget, you have to make a motion to move forward to present, to be able to present it to council.
Can I get a motion to accept the 2018-2019 budget?
I'll make a motion to accept the 2018-19 proposed budget that's going to be presented to council.
I second that.
Motion made by member Bradford, seconded by member Torres. All those in favor? Passed unanimous. Move on to item number 4. Discuss and consider the remainder track and screen walls with Provident. This item is going to be tabled. So we will move on to item number 5. Discuss and consider the following requests from the Parks Department. Town Center Park improvements, maintenance. A. Resurfacing of the tennis courts and restriping of the basketball court not to exceed plus or minus 10% of $14,800. Tracy.
Town Center Park. So I put
Oh.
together, if y'all haven't seen the PowerPoint presentation of all the pictures so that you could visually see kind of what Robert would be talking about. So I've broken this out into 3 different categories. The first one was the Town Center Park improvement maintenance. So we do have currently budgeted for $20,000 for Town Center Park maintenance. And then if you add everything up all together, you know that it's gonna go over the $20,000. So anything that you want to do above and beyond the $20,000, we can take it from the Parks and Trails category that's already budgeted. All of these items have already been approved whenever council approved our budget. So it would just be a straight line item that can be taken out. We don't have to take it back to council. We don't have to wait 60 days because we've already gone through that whole process. So Robert has come tonight to be able to talk a little bit more about all of the things that he would like us to consider. And so the first one we have is the resurfacing of the tennis courts and restriping of the basketball courts. Robert?
Yes, you can see on your picture there that we've got some chipping, we have some cracks in the surface there. We've got want to resurface this. They'll take it all down to concrete, they'll seal the cracks, and then they'll put another layer on the field. About all we'll have to do is choose the color that we want to use there. It was completed in 2005, and it's held up quite well, but it's getting to the point that we need to do some maintenance, take care of it.
Yeah, I was out there not too long ago. It looked pretty bad.
Yeah.
Well, that fixed the gates too. The gates were kind of messed up.
No,
Oh.
well, we can fix the guy. That's not a problem there. We fixed it twice, and for some reason, they have in their mind they need to break off that gate or the handle.
Well, it kind of climb
And
on
haven't
the
done
gate.
So I don't know whether they just don't want to open it up, or I'm not sure. But we also have the basketball court, which again, was done in 2005, same time that everything else was. And this will be painted just like you see it here. It'll be marked off and it'll be clear. And we have a lot of use on this park, this basketball court. A lot of times in the evenings when I'm going home, I'll drive by and we'll see a lot of people playing, a lot of kids playing out there. And we have a number of people that do the tennis court. And I had another individual come out and showed me some flooring that would go on the tennis court, and it was about this thick. It was really, really nice. And there were some people playing tennis, so I just stopped them and asked them. I said, "What would you think about this?" And they said, "Well, that would really be nice. That, you know, we'd really like that." And I said, "Let me ask you something. What happens when some kids decide to tear some of it up or burn it because it was
Soft?
kind of a plastic. It wasn't plastic, but it was kind of a foam, kind of a.
So when you say
So-
flooring, is it a movable surface or is it?
Well,
a
they, of course,
fixed?
they'll, I'm sure, glue it down or whatever it is, how they get it there. But if something happens to that floor and the kids do something to it, then we've got a big expense coming up. So I'd rather go back with what's served us for, 13 years
Yeah.
and use what we've got. It's served us quite well, and we don't have to worry about anything else. We've had a little vandalism on the tennis court, the wind screens, the people had torn the wind tunnels there where we could let the wind come through. They tore that, and we've had to replace those. And the tennis nets, they've cut them up a few times, and we've replaced the tennis. Going pretty good, but the floor needs some attention. And,
Now, is that something that we'll do or outside?
it'll be outside. It's a contract. It would be a contract.
So can you get them to like level the spots? There's spots in there that where the water sits because it's not level.
Right, and we talked about that. We found out a lot more about the water puddling when it rained several inches one day, I think, here in Sunnyvale, and it took a lot of our wood fiber on the play equipment and ran it all the way across the tennis court and on the other side of the tennis courts. So we had to sweep a lot of it up and bring it back. But yes, you can see, and yes, they will level it up.
And if you'll look at the quote that was given on number 2, it talks about what they'll do with the standard. On the Ellis Construction quote.
So do we have other quotes for the similar product or is this just the one quote?
Not a similar product, but another product.
Okay.
That was the other guy.
That's
It
the
was
flooring stuff.
Considerably more than this. But, I mean, while it would be nice, it could wind up costing us a lot of money if there's damage done to it.
Yeah, this is just
Somebody
the
burns it
standard
or
stuff.
whatever.
Yeah, I kind of like what we have and stick with that. Plus, it's there's no shade at all. It's just nothing but sun. So I don't know about the other product.
I'm sure as far as the weather concerned, the other product would be fine. It's not the weather that I'm worried about. It's
No.
the other product. It's vandalism.
It's just my question was because, I know other companies that do it, so
Well,
typically
yeah, I
you
mean,
get
I
multiple
can get
quotes for
another
the
company,
same.
but the price that you're looking at won't be any more than that.
Yeah,
It could be less, but it won't be any more.
right. Plus or minus 10%.
Did we use them last time? This Ellis
No, it was, I don't know who the general contractor used, but the general contractor that built the park, brought them in from somewhere, but I don't know where. I don't have that information.
Do you think it'll last another 13 years, or it lasted that long because it was brand new?
I think it'll last that long again.
Unless we have
I can't think of any reason why it wouldn't.
Maybe increase of usage, just the
Well, it could. Now,
town's
we-
getting bigger maybe.
Yeah, we have kids that go out there and they play soccer on it, but it's a public park and there's not much way we can ask them to get all off the tennis court unless someone has it reserved, and then that's
Hmm.
another subject.
It's just a fine paint, isn't it?
Yeah,
They're really,
it's kind of a fine paint, but it's, I don't even know how it's I'm trying to think of it. It's
like an
kind of-
epoxy.
Yeah, kind of like that, yeah.
That's what it says, and it's acrylic sealant.
Yeah. Do you want to take one item at a time, or?
No, if y'all
What-
wanna go through all of them and hear what he has to say, then we can go back and
All right,
move on to the cameras.
yeah.
So this is for the replacement of 2 of the original park cameras that were installed in 2008.
These were, like I say, installed in 2008, and the one that you're looking at there is the original that was put in. And we don't, it gives us kind of a, in the evening, it gives kind of a blurred picture. It's just sort of wore out according to Don, our IT person that put the cameras in. And
Don
just-
with Axiom?
Right.
So do those just record up here to town hall, and if
Right.
something happens, you go and look at it? Yeah.
And we had a little girl injured on one of the seats, and that we had where an expression swing, they call it, where the adult and the child swing. Well, on the top edge of it, the edge had worn down. You couldn't see it unless somebody was like pushing down on it, and the little girl was put in there, and I guess it cut her back. And so, obviously, they reported it. I pulled it up on the screen, rolled it back, and saw where it happened. I couldn't see it happen, but I could see the people running to that swing, picking the child up, which was probably 2 or 3 years old, I guess, and taking her to
Then adding
hospital.
2.
But
Is the
yeah,
seat broke?
No, well, it's not broke, but it's a rubber, there's a band of metal that goes around it, they lean up against. Over that is a piece of rubber, kind of cushion them so they don't have to lean on the metal, of course. So that had just worn and cut across the top of that, not cut, but had just worn. I guess when people sliding in and sliding out of that swing, just for the child.
But yeah, but you've taken care of that, and we're talking cameras, so.
Right. That has helped us tremendously in that particular case, and also we, from the pavilion, from the south side of the pavilion, looking through the pavilion is the other camera that's been here for quite since 2008. When the people damaged the tree, killed the tree, or going to kill the tree by cutting all the bark off the tree, I could see them over there, but I couldn't see them clearly enough to tell who they might have been. So we're hoping to replace that one. That'll give it, yes, that's shot right there on that camera. And the tree was out in the front. I don't know if y'all are aware of what happened to the tree or not, but they cut the cambium off of the tree about that far all the way around. So the tree that's been there, I don't know how many years, but a few, and nice big cedar elm, it will die. It'll live off itself for a while, but then it'll die.
Was it a beaver?
Where's the tree located? We don't have a picture of that.
It's, let me see, it's in front of, between the parking lot and the walkway there where the south play equipment area is. It's in that little grassy area, the little grassy median.
Kind of to the left of this picture.
What about so we just bought some cameras a couple of years ago, I think, but we're not replacing those at this point, right?
No, those are new, and they give us
Everything's fine with
a
those?
clear and crisp view of what's going on. It's just these 2 oldest ones that were put in 2008, and Don said there's not a whole lot we can do. I mean, they're working, but they're working at their peak, so we just need to replace 2.
Technology lasting 10 years is unheard of at this point. So I'd say they made a good run.
At night, I mean, when I get here early in the morning, I'll look over there to see, you know, what's going on. And, you know, there's a lot of people come over there to walk and a lot of people exercise. And when they walk past the north play equipment on the sidewalk, they usually walk around, the folks that exercise, they walk around first around that field. When they come on that north side, they're kind of a blur. It's kind of like a coyote chasing the roadrunner. I mean, it's just kind of a blur. But in the day, it's better. It's a lot better. I mean, I can make out who's who there. So that's,
I don't mean to skip ahead too far, but all of these seem like reasonable requests and prices. The only thing that really stands out is on the South Pond area camera being $4,700 and the North Field being $1,300. So is it
some of those
cover a substantially larger area or something? So it's
yeah,
a
we can
substantially
focus. I mean,
fancier.
we can pull them in and, you know, back them out.
Okay.
The only difference is wherever you set it is what you're going to record.
Right.
If you're trying to get out and a little bit more narrow, and you've done it from out here, I mean, where everything's close to you, then it's not going to work.
So I mean, what's the goal of the South Pond area camera then? If it's, are you going to be changing it?
No, and we even talked about, Don and I talked about, or he talked about one that would, was action activated, it would move.
Yeah.
Motion.
But if you get 50 people out there,
Right,
that thing's
it's
gonna
not
go
gonna
nuts,
do
and,
anything.
you know, round and round and round, trying to keep up with everybody. So I said, no, I would not want that. I just want something that sits still and shoots in an area that we have,
You want high quality
yeah.
video as your main, it sounds like.
Right,
so.
and we trying to place it in areas that have the strongest activity. So that if we have something go on, then we possibly be able to
Right.
check. We got the one that shows the license plates, people coming and going, and that thing's working great. And, you know, I can stop them right there in the middle of travel, going in and out of the park, tell the police, you know, here's the license number.
Yeah.
It's been a great help to us.
And then
The
my
ones
next
on the
next
pavilion,
question would
on
just
the-
be if, you know, you've got one quote from one company, so do you have another one for the camera system, same thing?
I do not, and I did ask Gerald, that does this kind of work here at Town Hall, the security system and thing, and he said he would not be interested in bidding on this because, you know, it's a system that Don had worked up, and he's not with that particular system, and I'm not sure that his hardware would hook up to the existing.
So yeah, because you're just looking at cameras that work with the existing.
Right.
Yeah, and we paid,
Yeah,
I
which-
think, almost $9,000 for a couple of cameras a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So this doesn't sound too bad to me. I was just gonna ask the same question about why is one so much more expensive than the other?
I think that's just
Maybe
the-
cheaper to replace the whole
Well,
system
it
than to
looks-
buy cameras.
It looks like that, so basically the 4717 is including labor for, well, I guess he did separate out the labor between the two, but.
Hardware and labor, yeah, hardware 31.
If you're looking at the numbers, I mean, one says 12 BDC, one says 48 BDC, and then you're looking at 2.8 to 9 millimeter remote.
It's just
and
a
this one
better
is a better camera.
better
So-
camera.
so
that's-
They're all pretty low resolution though. so-
5C, where you have labeled as 5C, you can move around. That's what they quoted you, a PTC, pan, tilt, and zoom.
Well, these won't, I told them we don't want the ones that's moving. We want it stationary. Now, to go back and forth where we can adjust up close or out, that's different. But
Well, they quoted you a pan, tilt, and zoom, which you're
Yeah.
describing a zoom.
In a dome.
the Zoom, I'm ready for, but
Yeah,
not the.
No, I'm telling you, that's why it's so much more expensive.
Oh, okay.
I pay $500 for a PTC, whereas I paid $100 for one that just zooms in and out. So that's why that one's more expensive.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Well, I'm not that familiar with them other than what Don tells me.
but that's why that second one is 4,700 versus the two cameras for 3,300.
Wide angle, mini dome, continuous, blah, blah, blah.
And-
Honestly, I mean, it's the price is fine. It's just are they gonna use the pan tilt capability? Now, you can set it to auto track somebody, like you said, it doesn't make sense in a park.
Yeah,
But you can set it, hey, 5 minutes, look here, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes there, and do 3 different areas that you have interest. But then
Or get 3 cameras
Or
that
get
don't
3
pan and
cameras,
zoom,
yes.
that way you just cover the whole field, you know?
Right.
Because if the non-panning ones are $1,300, you can get 3 of those for the price of one of the others.
So maybe on 5C, they can re-quote it with something that is not, that has that zoom capability 30x, but not the pan tilt part, just to save some, because it is a big jump in price of the camera, 730 versus 3,300.
And it doesn't look like the tennis court camera is included in the agenda list, unless I'm missing it.
no, after thinking about it, we've got a tunnel under everything to get over to there. It was gonna be quite a bit, and I said, we don't really have anything that we've had any problems on the tennis court. So I didn't really see a need to, because we're gonna have to go up on the pole, one of the light poles at the tennis court to mount it.
I have a problem too.
Down there, I don't know if we need, that.
And it looks like for that one, we'd also have to, get a trenching quote too.
Well, I think that's part of it, if I'm not mistaken.
It says it's extra.
No, that would be
Yes, it's
separate.
extra.
Yeah, it says it would be separate on. Well, if we were doing the more expensive material on the tennis court that we were worried about vandalism, it would probably make sense to do the camera there, but if we're just doing the straight,
Well,
right?
You know, to me, I don't know, it's up to the council, but liability's liability, so somebody gets out there and trips and falls and sues us, it'd be helpful to have a quality camera to show, you know, actually they tripped on their own water bucket and
But are you saying the tennis court camera wouldn't really show anything?
I don't think it would be as beneficial as these other cameras, because we
But
have
does
more.
any of the coverage that we have now and with these, will any of that show any part of the tennis court?
No, they won't show the tennis court itself unless we can mount one on the end of the restrooms here, point it out toward the tennis court, but you've still got the screens, the wind screens that's gonna block you to a more respiratory, so. Don and I was thinking that we might be just, well, put it on the end of this building and shoot from the building down through that vacant area between the tennis courts and the pavilion and the play equipment where the largest concentration of people wind up. Even when they have, they rent the pavilion out just about every weekend, and there's sometimes there's no parking places, there's no parking spots in the parking lot because it's so full. The majority of the people, I suspect, are not Sunnyvale residents, but they can still reserve a park. So we want to concentrate the cameras in an area where we have the largest concentration of people.
So it looks like also for the South Pond cameras, there might be some trenching we need to expect too.
There would be some trenching going in there, but it's not under the concrete so much as
I'm
it
good
is.
with everything, I just like to have multiple quotes on the project and define what the project is, a good quote.
Want to move on to the next item?
Well, I know this guy has done all the camera work for him so far.
so as far as the trenching cost, I mean, that would, I think that would be above the plus 10%. So would we have to do something later once we get quotes for that, or?
It should be plus or minus, it should be plus 10%. If you can do it for half, too.
One last question on the cameras. It's only video, no audio?
No idea, only video.
And that's per rules, I guess, or?
We just never have had audio in all the years we've had, since 2008. We've never had audio. Now, what would be involved in that, I'd have to get back with Don and ask him, but I'm not sure we can.
Right.
I don't know that.
I'd just be curious, I mean, it may strangely enough, like doing my house, it's cheaper to replace the entire system than try to find stuff to work with my old recorders and all that junk, even though, so potentially with the evolution of digital, it may be cheaper to replace the whole system, unless that goes to other places all over town, I don't know.
It would just be here
Yeah,
on this particular system. But we,
I'm in agreement with the whole thing, it just,
This
if
is,
we're gonna spend the money, I'd rather get the best bang for the buck, you know, so.
I've never heard of this brand, to be honest. But it looks like it's Panasonic. I looked it up, and
Yeah, they make
it's net.
heavy duty stuff. I know.
Right. And it's, as far as the technology, it is what you would want to get if you started anew. So the old ones, I'm sure they're analog cameras that connect to a separate video recorder. So this one's probably go in line with the ones we got last time. Same brand, but
Yeah.
really probably different NVR. So warranty and stuff as far as service, when you guys have had trouble with them, you call these folks and do they charge us to get a camera back online, or do we have
Well,
a
yeah,
service
I mean,
contract, or how does that
yeah,
work?
they've always come out and they've always been the people that did the work if we had any services. Generally, we haven't had any problem or very few problems with the cameras, except for some reason, we had problems with that license plate cameras. And it kept going out, replacing it. And the last time, I don't know why, it's worked ever since. I'm not sure.
Do we have a service contract with them to do all of that, or they just do it?
No, it's just
Okay.
as we need them, because we don't use them that often.
But they do charge us something every time they come?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they'll charge us a fee. I don't know what that is.
Good.
That comes to me. I guess it goes to Liz or somebody. But I don't see the charges on that particular issue.
And is there any additional cost or issue with, this may be a stupid question, but capturing the additional footage from the additional cameras?
No.
I mean, as far as
No.
data storage, I mean, how far back do we go on capturing video?
I think we run about,
Should be 30
I
days.
think about 3 months. We can go back about 3 months. And
Same
capture
guy
stuff.
goes
It
on.
gives me an option to choose what day and what, when and what time. And we've had some people that rented the pavilion and said that they were run off and people wouldn't let them reserve, stay there, and they had it reserved. They were having a birthday party for their grandchild or child or something. Well, I just pulled it back up on the camera and nothing like that happened. So, they were wanting run off and humiliated and cursed, I think they said. But the cursing part we couldn't hear, but we could see that they had left before the other people got the big help in that particular case.
Well, the more cameras you add, the less time you're going to be able to record. So, good question. You might need to buy more storage. But
Right, that's what I was thinking. about
but
the
if you're
stuff.
recording 3 months, I mean that's a long time. So you probably have a lot
Generally, if
of.
someone's got a concern, it'll happen within 3 months generally.
Yeah.
Next.
Next.
Reimbursement for the replacement of the fountain motor. And, go ahead.
Oh, this is the spray fountain that comes on in the afternoons and goes off at 11 o'clock at night. The motor, it wouldn't work, and so we got Dixon Brothers to come out who had worked on it before. I wasn't here, but they had worked on that fountain. They turned it upside down, took the motor out, but before they did that, they pulled out a lot of plastic that was around the motor. And after they got the plastic off, there was, he said, probably 200 or 300 yards of nylon fishing line. Now that was put in, I don't know what they did when they were here before, but it was at least 7 or 8 years ago that Dixon Brothers was here to do something with that fountain. I think Mark Bentley. And So we thought it might be the condenser in the motor, but it wasn't. The shaft had just been kind of eaten up by that line, that fishing line, and going round, so it finally just burnt the motor up. It couldn't turn anymore. So we had to replace that, so we, Dixon Brothers ordered us a motor, come back out and put it back in, and now it's working fine.
So this is just a motor internal or a whole new fountain? 'Cause-
No, not a whole new fountain, just the motor.
okay.
The fountain was fine. They said we might have to do that, but
Cool.
they come to find out we did not, so. It was only the motor and the labor to come out first and diagnose it and then come back out and install it. They quoted us, I think, like $3,100
Is it in the-
to begin with, and it wound up being a little bit less than that.
Okay, that's the difference then. We still have the 3,100.
Oh, okay, well, it's now 2874.
Is it in the south pond, the one without the lily pads in it, or the north
No,
pond with all the
it's-
weeds?
Well, it's got lily pads too, but not as many as the north side's got.
Right.
But yes, it's in the north side.
Okay.
Well, the invoice, never mind. Well, it's got 2174 plus labor of 600
Right.
plus tax. So, yeah.
We gotta pay tax?
No, that's the difference in the invoice, is the
Okay.
tax between what they invoiced us and what we actually
And
paid.
shipping and handling. and
We
another-
did have to pay for the shipping and the handling, the labor.
Yeah, a whole new fountain is
The
like
next line.
4,200, 3,900 to 4,200 for new fountains. Hmm. No, that's just for a new fountain.
Needless to say, we had not had any trouble with fountain previously, so it's lasted, well, except for what, I'm not sure what Mark Bentley did, whenever, I'm not sure.
All right. Any more questions on that?
So to circulate the water without the fountain, is it just sitting there right now since it's not
Yeah, it
working?
just sits there during the day, or, we can turn it on anytime we want to, it's on a timer. So I have it coming on 4 in the afternoon, going off at 11 is curfew, so it shuts down at 11. I mean, we can have it.
Or you
on
can put
2 in the
aerators in,
afternoon,
but then
or
if
we
you do
can have it running
aerators, you
all
got
day
a
long.
pump on the side of the pond and.
Well, I'm just worried. There's a bunch of mosquitoes right now since it's not working, right? It hasn't been working.
Well, it hadn't been working, but it's working now.
They already
We've
fixed it.
Oh, okay.
They already
Gotcha.
fixed it.
Yeah, we're up and running,
Yeah.
All right.
but yes, we still have mosquitoes.
Well,
I may be getting calls from people who live around that have bodies of water close to
Well,
the
it's
lakes or
already been
something,
fixed one
or
time.
something, and I wonder if
I'll
we
reimburse
have
that.
mosquitoes. So, no.
All right,
reimburse for
let's
that, and then panel
move on to the
box.
next one.
So for the next one, we have the replacement of the park panel box. So as you see, the panel boxes, they had 2 of these panel boxes that needed replaced, and they're just asking for assistance with one of the panel boxes. We currently,
Things are pricey.
The paddle box that you just saw was, you've got 2 boxes there, and now we only have 1. We had 1, and this was the one we had put in, the stainless steel.
That's what I was gonna ask you.
So.
That's why it cost, I was like, man, that's an
we
expensive
don't
box.
have to worry about this
Where
problem
is this?
again.
Where is this located? Is this further down by like the second pond? Where's this box?
Yes,
at?
it's by the second pond, just past where the waterfall is.
Right.
That pit.
Yeah.
that's there. Yeah, we had, this one had, you could see all the way through it because of the rust and the water dripping and everything else. The other one that was on the other side, this controls the spray fountain.
Right.
Here, that's the timer on the box there on the left as I'm looking at it. And the other one is the fountain, or the pump, that pumps water from the south pond into the north pond. And then it fills up the north pond and then creates the waterfall. And that one even had electrical marking going across because it was so rusted out. And got to the point that we couldn't secure it. And that's when we had to change it out. But it's, the pit is down where the motor is, and you have to unlock the lid, climb down in the pit, and then turn the valve to let the water come from the south side going into the north. And you just gotta make sure whenever you turn it off, you turn that valve off, because if you don't, it will drain the water from the north side over to the south side, and then go in the overflow, and you'll empty on the north side.
And your fountain will be running with no water.
Yeah, there'll be no water.
Turn up.
So anyway, that's what we're asking for there on that particular item. It's been changed out, and everything's fine, and it's got a timer on there so we can set it to go off, the fountain to go off at any point in time that we want to.
This-
We turn the big pump on where the waterfall is probably twice or 3 times a year, just to keep things going and make sure everything's working right, because it'll be on for Sunnyfest when we get to that.
All right, next one.
Next one is for the replacement of the wood fiber chips on the playground at Town Center Park, as well as the exercise equipment area at Samuel Farm North.
We have the play equipment inspected every year. We have to have it inspected every year, so the person, Bill Jinks, comes out and inspects it. And one of the things that he said is we needed several more inches of fiber underneath that play equipment than what we had to secure, a fall from 6 feet. And so it's a safety issue. We had that brought in, and we had enough that we could put it under the exercise equipment at Samuel Farm, which was probably about that low. So, but it's not near, of course, it's not near as big. And so when the guys finished with it, it really looked quite nice, still does. They have an opportunity for you to, they'll bring out the fiber and they'll blow it in. So we wouldn't have to have any maintenance personnel over. The charge for that is a little over twice this figure here. So it's a little over $4,000. I said, well, we can move it for $2,000. So we did the guys, the park guys did it themselves.
Did you ever look at other material for that? There's like a
I have.
rubber.
I have, and they have some that's tires.
Right.
Some that's, I can't remember, I saw something the other day, I don't remember a new product coming out, but they have other opportunities. No, I haven't. I mean, this has worked well for us and served us well since 2005, so I want me to, I can most certainly look.
Yeah, I'd like to see the numbers on
Okay.
it, because I know that they have that.
Non-decomposing.
Yeah, it doesn't rot well. I wouldn't think it
Doesn't float
rotted
away.
on.
But this has already been done though, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
this already
is
been done.
completed, but we'll have to do it again at some point.
Right.
So, but if we do, then we'll have to take everything that's in there out, and if we change product, and we'll have substantially more
Yeah.
put back
Very
in.
big cost.
It's pricey.
But I'll get you some more numbers, and then y'all can just look at it and see what's there.
Well, we
When
could
do you
always
think it
always
will-
keep it.
I mean,
Keep the price.
how long will this, when was the last time this was done before this time, do you know?
Well, I don't think it's been a year, but that was because of the rain, and a lot of it washed it out and washed down in the drain across the tennis court. We got a big drain right there between the play equipment and the tennis court, and it filled the drain up and went across the tennis court and just completely filled the tennis court up on the south side and ran off in the grass on the other side of the tennis court.
And we need to keep that from happening again.
As long as it doesn't rain several inches in the course of the day.
That's true, I guess we had
And I know
all the
they-
hurricane
They
activity last
They
year.
have
Now,
lots of
normal
support.
rains, if we get an inch or two
No,
like
it's
that,
not
we
that
don't
high
take
pace,
much
no.
problem. But when it rained as much as it did, the wind was blowing as much as it did, we didn't have any trouble. I didn't realize it was that bad, so I don't know about
There's not a drain under the playground at all, is there?
it. Actually, I think there is. There's French drains, I think, that'll absorb water and run it out. But there's a drain right there, I mean, a big grate, metal grate
Yeah.
right there between the play equipment and the tennis court.
All right, let's see. Oh, here's our good one here. Move on to G.
This one was just something that Robert had stalled somewhere, and so we just thought while we're taking everything else and bringing it to you, see if you'd like a charging station out in the town center park as well.
This is solar powered, has batteries, and it's kind of a standalone deal. I saw it in one of the park recreation magazines that came through, and it's where you can charge your phone. It's got stations all the way around it. It's not that big. It's probably about 4 foot diameter. And people, of course, they'd have to bring their own charging devices to charge up their phones or their iPad or whatever it is they need charging.
Stolen.
I think it's a neat idea once we have connecting trails, because I'm gonna be on my car if I'm in that park, so.
Yeah,
Not a safe way to walk to the park, so.
Well, it's just something I saw and I thought
But yeah,
it
it's
was
a-
kind of unique.
it's a
and,
neat
you know,
idea.
Maybe somewhere down the road if we can do it, or we can do it now, or we can do it whenever.
What's the cost?
we decide that it's needed.
$2,400.
Well, my concern with it is vandalism. That thing, it looks like it could disappear and it'd be in Polly's backyard when she has a party. I don't know.
Wow,
Well, I wouldn't-
anything we
anything-
put out there is at risk for vandalism.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
you could
and I
put
can
a
tell you,
folding chair out there.
it's
if
not
you
gonna
like.
get any better. The vandalism will not get any better.
Right.
I know it hadn't been all that bad since we put the park in. This is one of the heaviest used parks in my opinion, this whole region. It's packed I can go sometimes in the afternoon during the week and there's hardly a parking place left.
Where do you think you would put this if we installed it?
Somewhere between the pavilion and the play equipment, kind of out a little bit from there, so.
Would any of the cameras hit that?
Yes, the one on the other side of the pavilion, on the south side of the pavilion, shooting through. That's assuming we got it.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Does this quote include the labor and drilling it into the ground and, or the
This is just the
concrete?
cost, no, this is just the cost
Okay,
of
so
the
this
unit. I
doesn't
think
include any
it's
installation.
standalone, so I don't know how they anchor it. Maybe just drill.
Drill
Drill
holes
holes
in the
around.
concrete, put some.
I think it would be good to get the rest of that quote for the full installation, because, I mean, I like the idea of it, but if it's gonna cost an arm and a leg to actually install it.
I don't think well, I don't know what it costs, but I don't think it'd be that much because there's not that much to it.
I just know when we did the signs for the park, different things for the parks, then they kind of came in after the fact and threw on, oh, well, you need this concrete pad to.
Yeah, but we wouldn't need a concrete pad there, right? It's already,
No.
it'll be
it's
on the
already
existing
They
concrete,
probably
we
just
just
drill
put
it in,
two,
put some
four.
studs in there and.
Yeah, that's not very hard, but what I'm worried about is the batteries,
Mhm.
maintenance.
I don't know. I saw it, I brought it,
They're
Tracy and I talked about it.
$50 to $100 a piece, just like an electric fence charger, so depending on how many are in
And
it.
you got your solar panel up there and, that could be vandalized or,
So the batteries are inside the pole?
right.
Yeah.
So those are some
And they're
custom batteries.
Rechargeable,
Yeah, they're rechargeable.
Yeah, but they don't,
right.
they last a year to year and a half.
So there's recurring costs
Right.
to maintain those batteries.
I'm personally okay with 100% of the reimbursements. My vote would be a no on the charging thing, just because I don't see a huge need for it at present. And then on the other things, my personal preference would be to have 3 quotes whenever we're, a substantial purchase, like the resurfacing of the courts.
Well, I had 2, but the other one wasn't something
Correct,
that I
it was
thought we needed.
it wasn't a light.
No.
To me, that's what I'm
Apples to
saying,
apples.
correct, at least 2 apples to apple comparisons.
Yeah.
Kinda like when we did the 4 corners and you had
Yes,
100 and something, and what'd we end up with? It was over half the difference. Now, granted, they had some issues, but they got it done.
Well, I think there's a couple things on here still to go over, but,
Oh, yeah, oh, that was on the one part.
so far, I mean, I think we talked about maybe looking at a cheaper camera for that $4,700 camera, if we don't need all the capabilities of what that camera provides.
I can check under the bond and see what we can do and still get, get the quality that we're looking for.
Well, there's definitely cameras that do that level of zoom without the pan and tilting. And they're,
I know, I just know we can't, Don said that if we pull it into Zoom and we're recording, that's all we're gonna get. We don't get anything,
Right.
back and forth. So we can adjust it, but we'll have to be satisfied with whatever we're recording is either way off or up close. On that technique, so, but I can get with him and find out what our options are.
And I'm personally good with the phone charging station. Before we approve it though, assuming we would approve it, I would prefer that we have the full quote for all the installation costs as well.
Sure.
But I think I think it would be appreciated for parents out there who don't want to watch their kids.
I want to
play
When the
Facebook.
kid gets stolen and
I
they're
go
charging
to
their
I go to the
phone.
park to get away from electronics.
plus, you can only charge 4 at a time, so you might have some disputes, people fighting over a USB port.
Opportunity for a grab and run.
It's no
It's a nice
different than the
looking
airport.
Are they just gonna do the tennis courts green again?
Well, we can choose the colors. I can bring you some
Let's
colors,
go with
y'all
like
can look at it
purple,
whenever we
rainbow.
decide what you want to do. But they've got all,
Red or blue.
You can go blue and yellow.
Oh, yeah.
the colors are just, the colors are just sort of unlimited. They've got
Right.
Yeah.
some reds, blues,
And-
greens, oranges. I mean, they've got everything out there.
Red or blue.
But I can bring that to you or give it to Tracy and she can forward it.
I'll look
get
up
to the
through some of
point.
my materials for past quotes on similar stuff and send you some contacts for
I
to
know
do that
the
stuff.
cost won't be any more than what's
Right.
what's listed there. It could be less in terms of
Yeah.
what we find out from some other, I go through Bible.
Yeah,
and
that,
check it out.
it's just a typo, but where it says plus or minus 10%, I would say plus 10%, but I'd take off the minus. 'Cause if you can do it for a lot less.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to check on that. I just want to get this up here for y'all to
Right.
take a look at.
So all of these items together are like $40,000?
Yeah, 42.
42,000.
$36,083 for
We haven't talked about the
town,
plants and the gravel.
town center park.
So, yeah, after we talk about those couple of remaining things, but, so we're talking about anything above the $20,000 amount that's in the parks budget, then we would cover that, is that correct?
So that's why I kind of broke it out into categories. So the first category under Town Center Park, we currently in our budget have $20,000 in the Town Center Park maintenance. So these items, if you were to choose all of them, are above 20,000. So then we could go into our park and trail budget line item to take out the rest that you
Okay,
want
so
to fund.
these would all be from different 4D line
The
items.
extra
Yes.
60.
And that's from this current budget?
It would be from this current budget year.
Right.
So if you would like to do them separately, since they are coming out in different line items, if you want to figure out what you want to do on Town Center Park, you goes and then we can go on to the next, or if you choose, if you want to look at all of them before you make a determination, we can do that as well.
So we stick with town center first. then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the total for town center is $36,083.
Roughly.
So we're approving up to $16,083 additional dollars if we approve all the items under that list.
I would want more, I don't know about the charging station. That's the only one I don't know about. I'm good with everything but the charging station right now. That doesn't mean I wouldn't be for it in the future, but like right there where you would put it, I know they do boot camp there and all that stuff, it just messes up that flow right through there.
They also have a portable base.
Could be a different place.
So, I mean, without looking at that more, I wouldn't want something stationary right there on that concrete pad.
And that will get you some installation cost to what it might involve. I don't think
Yeah,
it's-
I think if we were able to put it somewhere else, you
put
know,
it
I
next
mean,
to
the
where
kids are running in and out
Where you get the
constantly.
dog bag.
I mean,
I'm thinking they're like, run right into the thing and not see it, you know, and just boom, now it's bent. Because there's a big kid that, you know,
yeah, I would look at our options of where to put that. That's
Okay.
not right in the middle, you know,
Okay.
maybe
Yeah, we can look at
like
that,
over
look at
by the
all the other
restrooms
information,
or,
and then we can look at,
yeah.
what opportunities we'd have to put it on. We can put it pretty much anywhere
yeah.
we choose to.
You
put
could
it.
probably put it next to the monument.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be, I'm worried about if you put it right there in the middle, somebody's gonna
Well,
nail
a
that
little
thing.
bit concerned if we put it too close to the
Bench.
parking lot, and someone, you know, could come by, grab it, get in their car, and just keep on going. That's hypothetical, but
Yeah.
nevertheless, strange
Yeah,
things
grab
happen.
it, bolt it in.
Well, it'll be bolted, but it could be unbolted.
But I was thinking about phones or iPads, maybe they're charging, they may grab those and take off or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do people charge their phones at the park? Like, I have a portable charger that I carry, so I can't imagine standing there charging my phone.
Is there electrical plugs besides by the tennis, well, is that one
They've got
working?
one underneath, in the pavilion.
Under the
And
pavilion.
we've got them all along the tennis court, but not, you know, of course, the heat being what it is, you know, we won't be sitting out there in the heat.
Yeah.
To charge it, but we do have about 18 plugs over there that's all dedicated 20-amp breakers or circuits.
What are those?
Tennis court,
What were those for?
usually Sunnyfest.
Sunnyfest.
Yeah. People, or vendors plug in their equipment.
Right.
They all have, and we didn't, when we built it, I told them I didn't want them all hooked together because I figured somebody plug in two things there that carried a lot. We don't have breakers blown.
Right, right.
Okay, so if we take off the phone charging station, that takes us down to 33,683 for all of the town center park items.
And possibly that camera being less, but then we have to add in trenching, so what ends up being
Yes,
about the
if you
same.
said
Yeah, we do need to add in trenching.
33,683.
We'll need a trenching quote.
Not to exceed 33,683 plus 10% if necessary.
Actually, if
preferably.
you could go and do each line item, that would be great. That way it's easier for finance when they get invoices and stuff in, and they can look at it individually.
Yeah.
I still would prefer to have multiple quotes on something.
On the, well, so can we, but I think to Member Wise's point, if we did want another quote, I think we could still approve it for the
Not to
amount,
exceed that amount.
but not to exceed that amount. And if you got a second quote that's lower,
We could go without.
that you
without
felt
having to
comfortable
come
with, because I'm not a fan of always taking the cheapest bidder price. I mean, sometimes people, we've gotten quotes up here where we're like, okay, that's way too good to be true, they must be doing a crappy job.
I agree 100% with that.
Yeah.
It's just,
It's good to have the comparison.
believe we need
But I
to
guess what I'm
have-
trying to say is, I don't think we need to hold up the approval for him to get a second quote, or do you feel,
Right.
or do you feel like we do?
I was thinking going forward, maybe. I feel good about this being the same company.
So you wanna do each, like A at a time, B, right?
no, to answer your question, I would be okay with doing this, but I would like us to come up with a policy that we get, whatever it is, at least 2, but preferably 3 quotes on anything over a certain dollar amount for like items, whether it's buying chairs for in here or, you know,
Right.
redoing Collins. So if it's repainting the basketball courts for 14 grand, you know, that's,
We can get, I just needed a figure to
Right.
roll with, because actually I had no idea what it was gonna cost until I got the people out there, and we walked, well, the two people, one was excessive, I mean, that was fiber that, was on top, that just wasn't an option for us.
Food. Okay.
All right,
All right.
so we need to start making some motions.
Yeah.
We're here all day, or all night. All right, I make a motion that we approve the resurfacing of the tennis courts and restriping of the basketball court not to exceed, or we have to say plus or minus 10%.
You don't have to say minus.
We could just say not to exceed.
Okay, not to exceed $14,800.
Motion made by member Bradford, seconded by member Hunter to approve 5A, resurfacing of the tennis courts, not to exceed $14,800. All those in favor? Passed unanimous.
All right, you want me to just roll with it?
Just roll with it.
All right, I'll make a motion to replace the 2 cameras at Town Center Park that were installed in 2008, not to exceed $3,334.
Motion made by member Bradford, seconded by member Weiss to approve 5B, replacement of 2 cameras, not to exceed, plus or not to exceed $3,334. All those in favor? Passed unanimous.
All right. Let me do separate, two separate ones, probably. I make a motion to add a new camera at the South Pond area for an amount not to exceed $4,717 to Town Center Park.
Does that include trenching?
It does not, so we'll have to get a separate quote for that.
Well, but that was, we're looking at getting the cheaper cameras.
Yeah, you might balance that.
Right.
Motion made by member Bradford,
Second.
seconded by member Torres to approve 5C, adding cameras to the South Pond camera area for not to exceed $4,717. I'm looking for cents down there. All those in favor? Passed unanimous.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve 1 camera on the north side of Town Center Park on the maintenance building not to exceed $1,337.
Motion made by member Bradford,
Second.
seconded by member Hunter to approve 5C 2I, adding a camera on the north field not to exceed $1,337. All those in favor? Passed unanimous.
All right, I make a motion that we reimburse the Parks Department for replacement of the fountain motor in the amount of $2,874.
Motion made by member Bradford, seconded by member Weiss for 5D, reimburse parks for the replacement of fountain motor in the amount of $2,874. All those in favor? Passed unanimous.
Make a motion that we reimburse the Parks Department for replacement of the park panel box in the amount of $4,471.52.
Motion made by member Bradford, seconded by member Torres to approve 5E, reimburse parks for replacement of park panel box in not to exceed the amount of $4,471.52. All those in favor? Passed unanimous.
Make a motion that we reimburse the Parks Department for replacement of the wood fiber on the playground in Town Center Park
Motion made,
in the amount of $2,150.
second page. Motion made by member Bradford, seconded by member Weiss to approve 5F, reimburse parks for replacement of wood fiber mulch on playground at Town Center Park and Samuel Farm North, not to exceed the amount of $2,150. All those in favor? Passed unanimous.
All right.
We're tabling item G, purchasing a phone charging station. All right,
Next.
move on to number 4.
Not fine.
5-4. Why Why is it got four?
The
Oh,
four
four corners. Four corners of US Highway 80 and Collins maintenance. Replacement of plants at the four corners of Collins and US Highway 80 bridge, not to exceed or plus or minus 10% of $4,000.
So as you'll see in, coming up, you'll see all the pictures. We do have budgeted $25,000 in our current budget in under town beautification. So this money could potentially come out of that line item. And then you'll have all, I'll let Robert explain these pictures.
Yes, this is areas, we had to pull out a lot of roses whenever they got the Rosetta disease, and so they left a lot of voids in there. Some of the Yopon have died out, and you'll see the one tree there that's a magnolia. It's should be 5 up there, but the others died, and so I had Arboricultural Services to come out to tell us why. They're one of the leading.
We did the irrigation last year, so.
Yeah, but it wasn't irrigation this time. He said it was just he had a disease on the magnolias, which I wasn't that familiar with magnolias to begin with, so it was kind of, you know. I said, well, was it too wet or not wet enough, or what caused it? And he said, well, I think it's root disease, kind of like cotton root rot. And but everything else is okay. But these here have, you know, we could get some more. I don't have the tree numbers as far as replacing the trees. I'm talking about mostly the plants right here that's on the ground.
So the quote that you have is for the replacement of all the plants. That is not including any of the trees that need to be replaced.
Well, the where do the crepe myrtles go down at the bottom there?
Yeah, they're right there. And we've got,
So you're adding these in to replace a lot of the roses, right?
right, a lot
Yeah,
of
it's
them.
not-
You
we're
can see a
not
couple of
replacing
roses
just-
still left in there that came up after we pulled some out, but for the most part, all that between the Yopons, that second row of Yopons, and then there's 4 of them behind there. I think between those two, it was all roses. We pulled out probably 400 and 600 roses.
Cool.
Yeah, we lost all
And the
that.
irrigation is working really well that we're paid for?
Absolutely no problem at all.
I make a
is
motion that
this
we
just-
approve the $4,000 for
I
the
second
four
that.
corners.
You got a question? Go ahead,
I
sir.
was just gonna ask, is this primarily on the north
Looks like
side,
you're
or
going
is
It's
the
this
same.
on
really
all
on all
four?
sides, because the roses were everywhere.
Oh, okay, because there's only
This
6.
is just a reflection of what on the
Yeah, the magnolias are fine.
northeast and
These are
northwest.
magnolias up here.
Okay, because there's only 6 crepe myrtles on the quote, and those aren't gonna spread out on 4 corners very far.
Well, between the Yopons and the crepe myrtles, and the other,
Like on this side, see, there's only one magnolia, and on the other side, there's still 6.
Oh, okay.
So it just
Are you
depends on
thinking
where you
we'll
place
eventually-
them.
But we're
Replace
not
the
putting
magnolias
but we're
later?
not doing magnolias.
yes, I'll have to get a quote on
Correct.
those.
No, he's gonna look at other trees that.
Well, yeah, we're gonna look at some other trees, but we can put the
Okay,
magnolias
I
back
just
if
wasn't
that's
sure where the crepe,
what you want.
Yeah, I don't think they're done
okay,
evenly dispersed.
okay, gotcha.
All right, motion made by member Weiss, seconded by member Torres to go to 4 corners of US Highway 80 maintenance, replacement of plants at 4 corners of Collins and US Highway 80 bridge, not to exceed $4,000. All those in favor? Passed unanimous. Move on to Samuel Farm North maintenance.
Yeah, and just so you're aware, you'll see another, there'll be another line item for probably about $500 that'll come out as well to, once we get all the plants for, Paradise Lawns to plant them.
Oh, at the 4 corners, you mean?
So
So that doesn't include.
Samuel Farm North
Farm
maintenance.
North, about $2,000, which we have $20,000 budgeted in a Samuel Farm North maintenance line item in the current budget?
Turf
Or
Grass
gravel
Company does
road.
gravel road.
The gravel road goes out off of Highway 80 service road. Then you pull in there, and that's where they used to fly the model airplanes some years ago. But we leased this from the city of Dallas in 2001, this park, and along with Samuel Newholt. But here, you know, part of our agreement was to keep the maintenance up on the roads, and in this case, the road, and the mowing and other things that needed, you know, litter control and things like this. Nothing's been done to this road since 2001. So for us to spend the money on the gravel to come in, you can see in the pictures that show you going up into the park, the ones on my right, you can see where they're pulling off of the road into the park to go around those chug holes. And we've got people that come out and exercise their dogs, they take pictures of the wildflowers with their families. We've got one group that comes out there and they train rescue dogs. And they'll put tents, little tents about this tall. I think they're yellow tents all around. And I don't know whether they put somebody in them and have the dogs to find them. But these dogs are, in case of you know, a tornado or an earthquake, they go all over it.
So, will this company come out and roll it and everything, or is this just?
No, it's just we've got the quote from
Turf Grass place?
yeah, up here on by Lawson Road.
Yeah.
Star, I believe it is.
Yeah.
They'll come out, or that's rock there, and they'll deliver it. And so, you know, we'll spread it.
Oh, good, yeah, so you'll.
That's the concrete company that crushes and all that?
No, it's
No.
the one on down, it's got all the rocks,
Turf Grass.
Oh, it's the actual turf grass guy.
but they'll have that there.
You probably get the.
But they'll deliver it too, so we don't have to
Yeah.
deliver it. They'll have their trucks to bring it out. That's included the price of delivery.
And we've got like plow. I mean, how are we gonna spread it?
Well, we got backhoes.
Backhoes.
Yeah, we got bobcats.
All right.
So
Or
I
John,
thought,
well, Public Works does, so we'll use there.
Yeah.
Johnny said he'd help us.
Yeah.
so when we had talked about doing the disc golf dealio,
Uh-huh.
that we were going to, we talked about doing the gravel for the parking, and they said, no, you can't do gravel, you have, or asphalt, you have to do concrete. Does this go, because it's just maintaining what we have, those rules don't apply, or?
Who said we had to do concrete?
Yeah, I don't think.
That's what our town's regulations are, unless you, like, if you want to build a driveway, it has to be concrete now. It can't be asphalt. If you have asphalt already,
Depends on how much land you have, because it's only 25 feet off the road, it has to be concrete.
well, I
Outside of
remember we
HOAs,
were
outside of
talking about the
HOAs.
budget for the disc golf,
Yeah.
and putting concrete was gonna,
Yeah.
so anywho, this is just maintenance, is to maintain what we already have, so I assume that doesn't apply here, but I was curious.
We do, rock is what we had, and all we have to do is maintain what we, you know, and since it's leased property too.
This is leased,
Yeah.
All right.
So
Can I get?
generally, whenever the new codes come into place like that, it's if we're adding something or we're doing something. So if we were going to add the disc golf park, then that would be something that we're adding in addition to it. So then we would start to come up under the new codes to be able to concrete things for people to park as opposed to the gravel road. Something out here though, I don't know, it's been a while since y'all talked about that and having it out here, that if we had a whole plan, then it may be that we could have a gravel road potentially. It would just, you'd have to go for a variance and see if we could get a gravel road instead of a concrete road. Just
So-
depending on what we're doing in the overall look and feel of what it is that is being proposed.
Since this isn't even our property, I don't see why we would have to go that route.
Where's the disc golf thing at? We're not doing it, or?
That's not on this
It's-
agenda.
It's in the iCloud.
We hit the pause button.
Okay, I just don't want to spend money on gravel if we're gonna, in a year, we're gonna do the disc golf and we gotta put in some concrete, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
But this is pretty cheap.
Yeah.
It is, and it's maintaining something,
That,
sorry I was away, but, you know, something that we haven't done, and it's ruining the grass out there by not having it and the potholes and everything else. So driving out there and seeing how much of the grass is being taken out because people are trying to avoid the potholes, it's just gonna decrease the look out there anyway that we should be maintaining.
all right, can I get a motion to?
I'll
There you
make
go.
a motion that we have the addition of gravel to the gravel road at Samuel Farm North not to exceed 2,000.
Motion made by member Hunter, seconded by member Bradford to accept the gravel, the Samuel Farm North maintenance addition of gravel not to exceed $2,000. All those in favor, pass unanimous. Move on to item number 6, discuss and consider reimbursing the town for costs associated. Did you want to delete this one?
Oh, I mean, it's on there, we can.
Associated with Proposition A, mixed beverage in restaurants informational brochure. Thanks, Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Go home and eat.
Oh, yeah, I will.
Hey, he didn't get a sandwich. What's up with that?
Hey, you give him a
She
second.
didn't want one.
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh, okay.
He was asking him one, his wife was making dinner.
okay.
So, as some of you may or may not know.
Thanks, Phyllis.
Thank you. Good job. Have a good evening.
At the council meeting before last, it was brought up as potential for the EDC to pay for the informational brochure that went out regarding Proposition A for the mixed beverage uses. So with that being, the council had a motion for the EDC, for this line item to come out of the EDC budget, which was about $10,000. There has been some discussion that has happened since then, and with the EDC not knowing what happened with these brochures, didn't have any involvement in it, there was a recommendation for council to endure the costs, and so it's just gonna come out of the town council general fund. So this line item was put on here when it was the anticipation that we may need to pay for some of it, but as of last night, it just got approved with the mid-year budget adjustments.
All right, move on to item number 7, review town code of ethics.
Can we have more items on the agenda in the future for other people to pay things? That was a joke. You don't have to put that in minutes.
Hey, thanks for enduring all that, but I know Robert is very appreciative
Yeah, no.
of what y'all just did tonight, so thank y'all very much. I know it's kind of confusing to figure out what we pay for versus what they pay for, and as Phyllis said, kind of the bigger ticketed items that aren't everyday landscaping maintenance is kind of where the EDC should step in and kind of help out a little bit, and with getting the Arms Bridge Park, it kind of added a lot to his budget that he wasn't anticipating either. So number 7, town code of ethics.
Can I make a comment on that though? Just, I'm not an accountant, but it seems to me it would make sense maybe to increase the parks budget to accommodate some of those maintenance things that are gonna come up every 10 years. Like, we know we're gonna have to redo those tennis courts every so often, or that gravel, you know what I mean?
Well, the reason why we raised it to 33% was supposed to cover a lot of those things. So that's why we jumped there, because
But
our
that's
original.
but I think to Nikki's point is the 200 grand that we're giving them is supposed to cover this kind of stuff and us not have the
Ex-
separate expenses. But I know
Exactly.
this year was
Was weird.
sounds like it was an exception
That's
to the
not
rule
something
that we're
that
trying to create.
you would put in an annual budget because that's not something that you do annually.
No, but I'm
you
saying
know?
that the 200 grand that we give them is supposed to, but again, the 200 grand is just 33% of their actual declared budget, so.
Well, their budget is very minimal.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
it's
they have
small.
been told not to increase their budget. There's a lot of other things that town council is having to pay for and expense, so that, you know, if we can help out a little bit.
Well, I would say that caught us at a good time because we haven't had any big projects or expenditures lately, but there will be a time in the future.
Approved.
There may be a time in the future where we are you know.
Correct.
Hitting our budget with some things, and so there may be a need for some better planning.
And to me, it's confusing. It is a part of a real cost of having these amenities to maintain them, even if it's once every 10 years or once every 5 years. And it seems to me it should still be somehow
Budgeted.
try to include that in the budget. I know you can't ever get those kind of things exactly right, but because then it's misleading when we're not here later. Some new person comes in and looks at the parks budget and thinks this is what it costs, when it really doesn't. It costs that plus.
Yeah, plus with the 4B chips in.
Right.
So my question was, does the parks, are they allowed to carry on and have a account of 150 or 200 grand or not? Or is that just general fund?
So,
If we increase the budget for stuff like this that comes up every 5 to 15 years, does parks have a place to hold that money, so as it ebbs and flows, they can reach into it or not?
it would probably just go into so they've got a separate contingency, so all of our contingency money goes into a separate account, so it'd be just like that, and when they need to dip into it, they can dip into
Right,
it.
so that,
Could they have a long-term
if we were to do that, they would have to
maintenance
have,
line item? You know
yeah.
what I mean? A long-term maintenance project line item.
Well, that's why we jumped to the 33%.
but
still
with the
not covered.
33%, they have to put the
33% is
money
not covering what we
somewhere
just paid
that
for.
it's saved.
Right.
Is our point.
Or
Yeah.
is it
As
just
opposed
because
to-
they have, is this just an anomaly this one year?
I love where this conversation is going, but it has nothing to do with COVID.
But for the future budget meeting, are we gonna be the piggy bank for these items, or do we need to create a separate one and then just pay into it annually?
First of all,
Well, we-
these items came out of the park budget.
Correct.
This was just us as a board assisting them, or else their budget would be completely blown out of the saddle. So the money was gonna have to come from somewhere. It didn't necessarily have to come from us. We're just volunteering to help them. That's
Where
all.
would it have come from? Or is that, are we too off topic?
But
If
we
we
need-
would like to discuss this item any further, we need to go back to
I
another.
agree, it's just the way you're trying to think forward, you know.
Yeah.
But yes, I get where you're going with that, and I'll sit down and talk with Liz and Phyllis. and
So I'm
see.
not complaining about it, it just seems like it could be set up a little bit.
Well, hopefully the motor won't go out, next
And I
year,
would
and the fence
recommend
won't get run
for
over by
our
Eric
council
again.
At the budget retreat, to look at the parks, the budget.
Ain't run over the fence.
So,
And see
all
how
right.
we can better do that. Code of ethics, so you'll see on the dais, just this is the current code of ethics for elected and appointed officials. So just, this went to council last night. I wanted, everybody to be aware of it again. Some of this does affect where we are. Let's see, the 27, yeah. Regarding boards and commissions, so just something to be aware of. Nothing you have to do with it, just kind of look over it, and if you want to see what our current code of ethics is.
Well, that was my question, when you say current, when was it written and who wrote it?
That's a good question, I don't know. I do know that it's coming up now because it was actually in the charter review committee. They came up with, there was something in the charter review that talked about code of ethics, and so this got pulled up, and I think they're gonna pull it out to be able to review it to see if it needs some revisions.
It should have been brought up about a month ago.
Well,
And that's exactly.
Many more.
That's exactly why
I'm sorry, I
it's
just
brought
had to
up
say
now. Sarah, that's exactly why it's brought up now.
Well, I
Because it
actually
won't-
read the entire document, and I think it's fantastic. I think there's some very good information in here. I didn't see anything that jumped out at me that, you know.
Well, it was,
But I would be curious to know the effective date, who is writing it, and how often it's being reviewed and,
well, and we're each supposed to sign
you know,
it.
updated or what have you. So we're signing it to say that we agree with it, or that we'll abide by it? Oh, okay. I didn't see the acknowledgement page.
Very loud.
So each of us and well, everybody.
Can you also, I realize that you included it in the packet, can you send it as a separate document so I can save it?
So you know what you can do and not do.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. I didn't see anything specific to social media, but I might have missed it.
Say that again.
I was wondering what it says about regarding social media.
There is
It
an
talks
item in
about
there a little bit about social
With
media.
the media.
Talks about
Conduct of the
media.
media.
That's media in
That's
general,
media, it's
like-
news.
Yeah,
News
like
media.
outside news media.
I mean,
but
like, depending on when this
That
was
would be a
written,
good
it might
idea.
be prior to
That would be a good idea to
Facebook.
add it in.
There is some information about, making disparaging remarks about, other elected officials and whatnot, and I would assume that applies
For the president.
on social media as well. But that's a good point. This may need to be brought into the 21st century.
All right,
I will let Leslie know your comments.
So do we sign?
So are we signing this tonight or waiting for the review version?
No, I don't think you need to. Let me figure out when they're gonna start looking at it again and get more information on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure like what all comments you want on that. You were just showing it to us, or do you want us to add stuff?
If you want to add stuff for consideration, please do. I'll let them know about the social media.
I mean, social media would be one that I would be interested in, and also conflict of interest when we.
Yeah, there's a big page on conflict of interest that actually would have applied to some of the issues that we have concerns about.
So if you want to look over it, and if you have any comments or questions, just email them to me.
all right, let's move on to item number 8, discuss future agenda items and events.
Next regular meeting is July 10th, 6:30. The town council meetings that are coming up are June 25th and July 9th. Tomorrow, the chamber luncheon is here at Town Hall, and the gentleman is going to talk about the Texas Bullet Train and give us some information on what's going on with that, if you are interested in attending.
Bullet train, is that Dallas to Houston?
Dallas to
Yeah.
Houston.
New council orientation, this is just kind of letting y'all know where I'll be at the end of June. We're doing council orientation for the new council members on June 21st, and then a council budget retreat on Friday and Saturday, the 22nd and 23rd. And those meetings are open to the public, so you're more than welcome to attend. That's the one that Phyllis was talking about in Rockwall.
What's the time? What's the time for
So on the
D?
22nd, it's from noon to 5 p.m., and on the 23rd, it's from 8 to noon. And that's at the Rockwall Golf and Athletic Club.
What about orientation, D?
So
Is that in the evening?
orientation is going to be, I believe, at 2 o'clock on the 21st. This is kind of just giving the new council members an orientation of each person's department, who's in the department, what their mission statements are, what their areas of responsibilities are over the last year, what are some accomplishments that have been made, and in the future, what do you see as some challenges? All council members are invited to attend that meeting on the 21st at 2:30. 4 hours to go through everything.
All right.
Sunnyfest is on the 29th, 6 p.m. And then for a couple of other items that we need to look at, possibly looking at, the town is going to look at the June 25th meeting on doing a survey to the citizens. I had it originally on this agenda and decided to push it to the next agenda because I want to talk with maybe some council members and staff a little bit more. And the survey that is being put together, they've kind of put it together, but it doesn't talk a lot about economic development, and it's very vague in general when it comes to the parks. I don't think it answers our questions that we truly would need answered. Like, would people even use the phone charging station, just to bring it up, because that's what we talked about tonight. So having some of those things and what our needs are. The last survey that was done was 2015,
survey before that was 2009, I believe, and they're kind of all the same scenarios on what people are looking for. So just revisiting to see if we want to put something out there. I was told by staff that council did not want to make their survey any longer. So then that doesn't really incorporate all of our stuff. But try to work together and see if we can't get something that we can do jointly would make the most sense. So pushing it back to the next meeting to see what we can do about the survey. Vineyard Park lighting, Robert's still waiting on the gentleman in Clark Electric to get back on the lights. He thinks that the initial conversations is he doesn't think that the placement of the lights will change, that still falls within our new UDO codes from where they had them placed. And so that would keep the pricing about the same. So the next meeting, I'll bring that back to you. So had our next meeting, we'll bring, I'll find out a little bit more about Provident and the staging area and the maintenance. And that way we can sit down and talk about all of that as well, since Provident should be here. And then Phyllis suggested putting an agenda on the item on the agenda on if you want more than 2 quotes, more than 1 quote, 2 quotes, say, you know, at what level do you feel comfortable with having only 1 quote? So if there's anything above $10,000, you want 2, 3 quotes. I've asked Robert for several quotes, but then.
What's the town's policy? Sorry, Nick.
That's what I was asking.
I can find out, but we are not we don't have to follow that same.
Okay.
Like there,
Well,
I think
it would
there's
be good
some
to know, though.
laws that they have to follow by on their good processes that we don't have to abide by.
Yeah.
But I can find out what their policy is.
Yeah, I'm curious, like if council and 4A, do they have any policy? We should all match, I would think.
I can see ours being a lot smaller than what the town's number
Town,
might be,
but,
but,
yeah.
Yeah, maybe in the amount, but you know, just
but
the,
it's just the verbiage and everything,
Yeah.
correct?
Well, I think there would need to be some consideration too for vendors that we have current relationships with. I mean, have
Well, yeah, and
three
then if
quotes
you're always
for
doing
some
it every
basic
time, people are
stuff.
just like, I'm not coming out there.
Right.
Well, and I know that that's why he was saying with the cameras that he just went with Axios because they're the ones that have done all of our equipment and stuff, and it just ties into our equipment, so we felt most comfortable just utilizing them.
well, maybe it doesn't say you have to go with lowest bid. You just have to get, you know, a number of quotes and take them into consideration. And I think there are some,
Is it just on?
Tracy, we talked about it a little bit, I think there's some legal ramifications on certain things that 4B boards can't quote, can't award based on price. There's something out there.
All right. We good? You
Yeah,
good?
I was gonna tell you
What?
too, I will not be at the July 10th meeting. I'll
You
be
won't
on,
either.
I'll be on the beach.
Is there anybody else
Not a
that
beach.
won't be here for the July meeting?
Destin?
When is it?
No, Turks and
July
Caicos.
10th.
Loser.
The losers. All right.
Because Sarah and Nikki currently will not be here. So just want to
Be
make
at Mount Rushmore.
Actually, that sounds fun. I probably would enjoy that.
Probably a little
more.
cooler.
Mount
Yeah.
Rushmore's neat, but Turks and Caicos, I mean, come on.
I know.
Oh, that's more fun.
All right, if you have anything else you want to see on the next agenda, just let me
Wi-Fi,
know.
FaceTime from the swimming pool.
Executive
All right.
session.
We will now go into executive session. Chapter 551, Subchapter D of the Texas Government Code, A, Section 551.074, Personal Matter, Economic Development Director, at 8:36 p.m.
Personnel.
Personnel?
Personal.
No, personal.
Personnel.
You leaving us?
Do you have a personal matter?
He sat through all of this already. And 11
He-
o'clock council
Is
meeting.
that pretty
last night.
exciting?
That was riveting stuff, wasn't it?
You gotta pay attention. Good. Good.
So we stand.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
Thank
thanks
you.
for coming.
Thanks,
So
Ryan.
Is that on?
Well, that I'm not aware.
We
I'm
need to-
not
we need to
officially
go back.
100% aware of, so grab some cake and go to the back.
Yeah.
Don't need to stick with that one.
Do you need this?
Sometimes I think that case.
Yeah, I had my cookie out.
We will end executive session at 9:20 p.m. Okay. End executive session, section 551.074, personal matter, economic development director. No action will be taken at this time, and we will adjourn at 9:21 p.m.